Can you ride every Disneyland attraction in a single day? No, idiot. Absolutely not. At least not without Disney's overpriced VIP program for you and 9 of your closest friends. Since we're all content creators and all, we showed up 40 minutes late, including me. But then our tour guide Amanda showed us her prepared itinerary to knock out every single ride in one single day. But she warned us that she has never heard of anyone accomplishing this before, which only made me more determined as our day started through the doors of Disneyland straight to Tomorrowland with the Astro Orbiters. Your run-of-the-mill, ride go up, ride go down kind of ride. But the horrific part is that it was technically built in 1956. So yeah, the safety equipment was like a good apology video. Non-existent. The ride wasn't bad, just terrifying, like in a state fair kind of way. Also, since this video idea started out as a tier list, I'm just gonna rank this one a bit below average due to the slight fear for my life. Next door was Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters. This is a classic ride, a fountain of infinite fun if you have an underdeveloped brain. As a kid, this was the go-to game to kick your mom's ass. But as an adult, you realize how difficult it is to weaponize a laser pointer. I did lose to Jules by a mere 100 points, but then I lost to Kelsey by about 300,000? What the fuck? But hey, at least I never felt like I was gonna die. A majority of these rides end in gift shops, and even though it's the smart thing to do with this capitalist hellhole, I just like, God, how evil is that to do to parents who have kids? Down the street was Star Tours, a virtual reality-ish ride, and if you're a huge Star Wars fan, then you're definitely gonna get motion sickness from this one. I don't really remember the plot, but it doesn't matter since Dramamine couldn't save me from it anyways. In most videos, you'd probably expect a sponsored transition here, so what if I told you this one's not sponsored, but apparently this ride is. Autopia, presented by Honda. What? Autopia is the only remaining sponsored attraction at Disneyland, and dear God, why? This was my first time on the ride, and it was like paying to be in LA traffic, which is tolerable, but it also smelled like sulfur. It took a while to escape rush hour, but then we made it to Finding Nemo's submarine voyage at 10 a.m. on the dot. Apparently this ride is a typical miss according to our tour guide, but I found it to be pretty pleasant. The sculptures were all underwater, and I just kept thinking about how did they do that? They drained the water, made the plot, yeah, you know? My time here wasn't spent thinking about the ride. We started 40 minutes late, and after an hour and a half, we have only tackled 5 rides, which would be fine if we planned on ending at 29, but I wanted to tackle not just Disneyland, but all of the rides in their neighboring park as well. California Adventure, combined with Disneyland, makes for a total of 45 attractions. Anyways, the submarine was nice. Next up was the Disneyland Classic, the ride that brought me to tears as a child, Space Mountain. So I hope you're ready for some exclusive footage of a futuristic coaster with a banging soundtrack. I think it revealed something haunting about me since every time Adriana screamed next to me, I just laughed. This picture at the end really sums it all up though. This ride has always been the shining star atop the Christmas tree that is Disneyland Classics. Much like the Matterhorn, which happened to have a long-term maintenance announced starting the exact same day we went. And just like that, we were suddenly back on pace. While we're in there, I just want you to film anything that feels the slightest bit offensive. Okay.
It's a world of laughter, a world of tears. It's a world of homes and a world of fears. There's so much that we share, and it's time we're aware. It's a small world after all.
It's a small world after all. It's a small world after all. It's a small world after all. It's a small, small world.
Also, the gift shop happened to have a shirt that said, "I conquered, it's a small world," and, well, I couldn't pass that opportunity up. I wouldn't call this ride racist, but rather stereotypical. Since that experience brought us over to Fantasyland, we decided to explore some other rides I've never been on, and apparently for good reason. Storybook Lands Canal Boats is a tiny little boat ride, as you'd expect. The ride is slow in the heat, but the saving grace of it all is the tiny little environments they built makes the local ducks look comically large. I mean, look at this guy. What's nice about this area is that it has several rides all in the same square. After walking a couple feet, look, Mad Tea Party. I feel like this is the ride you see when you picture a Disneyland commercial in your head. So the teacups here have a capped speed on how fast you can spin, and apparently not in Florida, which makes sense. But over here, despite how iconic it is, the ride is ultimately pretty tame. And the same can be said about the next door neighbor of Alice in Wonderland.
It's about to drop.
A lot of the older Disney movie rides are just storybooks on rails that take you through a rough synopsis of the film. It's nothing bad, because if it was, it would be named King Arthur's Carousel. I mean, it's a carousel. You sit there and it rotates. That's it. Nothing special. It doesn't go up, it doesn't go down, because if it did, it'd be Dumbo. Since vertical movements have always been a bit cooler than their horizontal counterparts. I know I've been a bit negative so far, but that's only because we're ripping off the band-aid of some of Disneyland's real stinkers. So let me introduce you to the collective anomaly, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. This one is similar to those other storybook rides, except those all have cohesive stories. You appear in a library, piss off a policeman, explode a warehouse, drink some beer, lose in court, get hit by a train while drunk driving, and then the ride ends in hell. What? I mean, I gotta say, it's a unique experience. I'm never gonna forget it. And honestly, it's pretty base putting Supreme Court justice in hell. Uh-oh, 4 hours have passed and we've only knocked out, 13 rides? Honestly, that's not bad. As a team, we felt good about our pacing and decided to sit down and eat at the Cafe Orleans. I got a fresh, cold steak and some shockingly tasty fries. Not even 30 minutes passed and our ragtag gang of riders was up and ready to tackle Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't think any of us were really ready for a coaster with Disney calories sitting inside of us, so this calm little water ride was perfect. Apparently, the animatronics here used to be selling women as human slaves, and now they don't. So that's a good thing. Also, apparently this ride came out before the movie. I didn't know that. And since we are near Critter Country, we walked over to knock out Winnie the Pooh and my favorite ride since I was a kid, Splash Mountain. Okay, I recognize that ridiculing Small World for its cultural inclusivity, but praising Splash Mountain off of nostalgia can be a bit hypocritical. But look, I want to enjoy it while I can. The ride's not offensive, just what it's based off of is.
Oh my god, I am very wet. Oh my god. Oh, that is a cold cock on me.
The water definitely feels a lot colder when you're an adult, though. And as an adult, you sure can embarrass yourself a lot harder with the picture at the drop.
Oh!
No, not that drop. This drop. Even though I planned on riding Winnie the Pooh while I was soaked, so I'm going to rephrase that one. So Winnie the Pooh was next on our to-do list, but unfortunately was closed down, as was Haunted Mansion and Rise of the Resistance. This throws off our entire schedule because now we have to find time to come back later in the day. So I guess while we're here, let's check out Millennium Falcon, Smugglers Run. I didn't even know this whole Star Wars section of the park was over here, but damn, is the set work phenomenal. Look, I dropped out of film school, so I can appreciate a good set when I see one. The ride itself was such a standout, though. It's essentially a group flying simulator, but everyone's job felt so responsive, even if the ride was probably on virtual rails the whole time. The magic might wear off if I ride it again, but for now, I'd rank Smugglers Run pretty high. Luckily, by the time we were gone, Rise of the Resistance was up and running yet again. Since I've never been to this side of the park, I didn't really know what I was missing out on. The beautiful scenery is nice and all, but it's really about the little things for me, like these unique bottles, and Rise of the Resistance was an entire experience riddled with exactly that. I don't really remember too much of the ride itself, like the story and whatnot, but the crew stayed in character the whole time, and the sets were genuinely immaculate. You think you've seen it all, and boom, the sets are bigger. Boom, the sets are sleeker. Boom, here's a 20-foot tall mech. Fuck you. I genuinely can't believe I've never been on this ride, as it truly deserves a larger spotlight on it. But I can't sit around and gush about this one all day, because we still have like 30 more rides left, starting in California Adventure. I know we left some rides broken down in Disneyland, but since this park closes 2 hours earlier at 10 p.m., we decided to knock out this entire park first. So yeah, at this point, we've all accepted. We're going to be here for 16 hours, from park open to park closed. Shockingly, even our tour guide was fine with it, which made a lot more sense to me when I found out we were paying her hourly. Our first stop in California Adventure was Soarin'. A commercial failure as it debuted as a never-before-seen California flight simulator, and it's like, God, who cares? Now it just takes you through different biomes with that weird 4D smell generator, and it brings you here like, ah yes, the smell of grass. Also, the staff really lets you in on a lot of trade secrets when you get the VIP program, like, apparently this is the ride to go on if you have a foot fetish. Don't know why they told us that, but if you sit on the bottom rows, the gliders above you will just have feet dangling, ruining your shot. And typically people don't wear shoes for this one, so yeah. Disneyland really has it all. Grizzly River Run was next on our list, a rustling river rapids ride, and I can only explain our experience on this ride with one single clip. So no matter how our raft was oriented, the disgusting swamp water found its way to attack me.
Oh my god, turn around! Yeah, someone else get this actor. What?
All things considered, this ride was pretty great, but personally speaking, could have been a little better. Ariel's undersea adventure was nearby, so we decided to cross off ride number 20 from our list. I've been on this one before with my family, so I didn't really have any high hopes, but I could not have possibly been prepared for what was about to happen. The ride shut down within 20 seconds of us getting on it, and we all just sat there awkwardly until the ride came back to life, right before dying yet again. Earlier, it was losing points for shutting down, but now it's starting to gain points for the technical difficulties as it started to feel like a comedy act. Unfortunately, as we all know, comedy doesn't strike in threes, as we all escape the okay. So, our tour guide got stuck on the ride. So it did break down 3 times. Well, now it's time to make our way to Pixar Pier, which has tons of attractions crammed into an extremely marketed boardwalk. Upon entering, we learned that the Zephyr and Silly Symphony swings were shut down, which could potentially ruin our whole schedule. Honestly, those State Fair swing rides are probably one of my biggest fears in this little bitch of an experience we call life. So I'd honestly love to delay that as much as we possibly can. At least we get to ride a unanimous banger, that is the Incredicoaster. Disney doesn't really have a lot of traditional roller coasters, but this is probably the closest thing to it. The ride is quick, fast, flips, fun, and honestly just a good experience and all. Not really a lot to say about it, but it makes for an easy S-tier attraction. And then we had to ride another carousel. Jesse's Critter Carousel to be exact. This ride really isn't anything to write home about, but the overall presentation is nicer than the other one, so it's not the absolute worst. Also, I know this video really isn't about any of the food I eat. I had a churro earlier and didn't really talk about that, but I have to talk about the Poultry Palace. And holy shit, why were they so good? They were thick, filling, juicy, affordable, and shockingly well seasoned. I will swear by the Poultry Palace for the rest of my days, as it's right across from one of my favorite rides. Nope. Not that one. Toy Story Midway Mania. This is pretty much the Woody version of Buzz Lightyear's ass blasters, but wait, no, I meant to say Astro Blasters. It's a bit different in the sense that it's a game screen versus a laser point war zone, but it's still similar in essence, I guess. I don't normally like the game rides, but this is just a good, fun game to play. I'll always try to ride this one when I'm here. Unlike the Pixar Pal-Around, aka the Mickey Mouse Ferris wheel from hell. I've always avoided this one because despite it looking visually nice, it gave off the same vibes as the carousel. Oh look, that's a carousel. Crazy. However, until today, I never knew there was a swinging function on it. That's right, everybody. Even you can simulate a construction accident and a potential lawsuit on this ride. And as I hinted at earlier, I am terrified of heights. I know I look scared, which is normally a bad thing, but at this point in my life, I'm just happy to have something elicit any kind of emotion out of me at all. Sometimes death can be scary, sometimes death can be thrilling, and sometimes you run into a never-before-seen ride called Emotional Whirlwind that lifts you up Dumbo style for 60 seconds, you do nothing, and the ride is over. Yeah, that was pretty bad. I know, it was made for children, but as an adult who's taking this park a bit too seriously, I gotta rank it like an adult who's taking this park a bit too seriously. Luckily, by the time we came back around, the Silly Symphony swings were open and my fears were awake. I still had this childlike horror in the back of my head that what if the swings just fly off and I die? But I had to swallow that since I set out on a goal today to ride every single ride I possibly could. Honestly, I'm a bit disappointed that I wasn't more scared. Hey, remember when I said I don't feel a lot of things nowadays? Jumpin' Jellyfish is a great example of that. You walk on, it happens, you walk off. Thrilling. Goofy Sky School was sitting next door, and again, I didn't even know these rides existed. The weird part about this one is that it's the only ride that doesn't have a soundtrack. You're up in the clouds with this roller coaster tycoon-ass track, and it's quiet? It shouldn't be, but it is, and that definitely brings it down a little bit, as just music from the Goofy movie would go so far to brush up the presentation exponentially. Our last ride in this district was the Zephyr. We had to wait quite a bit for this one, which is about the time Amanda, our tour guide, broke down the news to me that we were behind in time and she doesn't think it's possible. The current time is 8 p.m. and we have 28 rides under our belt after 12 hours. Yet somehow we have to cram the last 16 rides into the last 4 hours. That is working double time from what we've been doing so far. After riding this beacon of bad news, we all ranked it accordingly and lightly jogged towards our next destination, Mater's Junkyard Jamboree. At this point, I wanted to enjoy it. I really did. But this challenge was starting to feel impossible. My feet were burning, my back was aching, and apparently I've walked 25,000 steps. Even though Mater did his best to lighten my spirits, by the time we got to Luigi's Roll-Lickin' Roadsters, the fear really started to set in. I mean, in California Adventure, we still had 3 rides left? Although everyone else had a lot of fun, I was still burdened with the kind gift of anxiety as we sprinted towards Radiator Springs Racers. Apparently, this is like a big ride. As stressed as I was at this point, this ride really did a lot to relieve me, as it was just fun, which is exactly what Disneyland should be, right? I mean, the ride was smooth, the animatronics were out of this world gorgeous, and it concluded with us racing against some literal children who were talking shit only for us to kick their collective asses past their bedtime. So being minutes away from 9 p.m., World of Color was about to start. I know that it wasn't on our original checklist, but I had to see it. I don't quite know what it is because I don't have an emotional attachment to any of those movies, really. World of Color is just special to me, so I had to make time for it. So believe me when I say we speed walked back over to Avengers Campus to knock out Web Slingers and Mission Breakout back to back. The Spider-Man ride is a well-known fan favorite, which, if I can be honest, I don't know how, as it's an insane workout. I mean, you really just do bicep curls for 10 minutes and see Tom Holland. Oh, I get it now. I think the ride is still a bit overrated personally, but even then, it's still a shining standout. Much like the neighboring Guardian of the Galaxy ride. Of course, this was originally a Tower of Terror, but apparently the drops are smoother now, according to Disney. I mean, I don't know. I've been on this one several times, so please excuse me nearly falling asleep on it. I mean, come on, it's been like a 14-hour day for me. Oh shit, 14 hours? California Adventure closes, and we have less than 10 minutes to make Monsters, Inc. Mike and Sully to the rescue? Ooh, that title could use some work. After running around all day, this ride gets bonus points for just having air conditioning. Also, it's Monsters, Inc. I like Monsters, Inc. The ride itself is pretty mild, but exiting this one warranted a celebration. Every California Adventure ride, and even World of Color, has been conquered. We're staring at a clock dressed at 10 p.m., which means we only have a mere 2 hours to tackle the remaining 9 rides back in Disneyland. Even though it's dark and you can't really see anything, our first stop on our return visit was Jungle Cruise. I went into this ride blind, and it immediately created a false sense of safety for us, but more specifically, me. Because if you know anything about me, you would know that I vehemently despise puns. So much to the point where I would even call it a personality trait. This ride in of itself is probably like a run-of-the-mill 6 out of 10, not bad, but this dude spit out his corny-ass, laffy-taffy-ass humor on a rapid fire for 10 minutes of psychological torture. He kept repeating the same joke about elephants having better memories, which, haha, sure, repetition, I get it, but then he made the same joke about bamboo twice. I don't know why God is frowning upon me today, but like, haven't I been through enough? But I realized, this isn't torture. No. It's a test. Only the strong survive, and I am Walt Disney's shining strongest little soldier. I survived the onslaught of puns, so I could trot all the way back to Fantasyland, which possesses Snow White's Enchanted Wish, Peter Pan's Flight, and Pinocchio's Daring Journey, all located in the same area and essentially all the same 60-second ride. Earlier in the day, rides got docked points for being short, but right now, it's a godsend. Snow White boasts of the most basic of the 3, Pinocchio is probably next to be remodeled and turned into Frozen, and Peter Pan's Flight filled me with a blast of nostalgia. I don't think I've even thought about this ride since I was a child until I turned that corner and saw the tiny cityscape they've created. I know this ride wasn't too different from the others, but it felt different. And that ride gifted me the last bit of adrenaline I needed as we entered our final hour. When we boarded Casey Jr.'s circus train, our shared adrenaline came to an abrupt halt. This locomotive made for children circled Storybook Land, and honestly, the 2 rides kind of cancel each other out. It's the same thing. And it's dark now and you can't see anything. All you could see were the surrounding streets that were overflowing with memories made earlier today, but it felt like a lifetime ago. I have been at this park for 15 hours and am somehow still walking. because as it stands right now, 4 rides left and 50 minutes to go. Now we got to experience Big Thunder Mountain, a genuine roller coaster. While hopping on, I didn't really have any expectations, but this one made me smile unlike the others. It wasn't for the ride itself, but because of the people I was with. Everyone was putting their hands up, screaming in joy, and I found that to be beautiful. We were fresh on our 16th hour, and everyone was just as determined as I was to see this through. We didn't have a single person drop. We didn't have a single person quit when it got hard, nor a single person complain about the blisters on all of our feet. Somehow, I found a group of friends just as insane as I am. And yeah, I was right. This is a beautiful thing. We were all wanting an unforgettable experience and desperately had to ride the last 3 attractions together, starting with the Haunted Mansion. While in line for this, Amanda was explaining to us that we're realistically not gonna make it, as 2 of our last 3 rides take a while, and it's already 11:40. Between Indiana Jones and Winnie the Pooh, she encouraged us to skip Pooh and trek through the Temple of the Forbidden Eye for a better experience. But that did not feel right. I wanted to give him my best shot and succeed, or give him my best shot and fail. After we made it on the Haunted Mansion, the ride temporarily went down with us on it, and every second on that clock mattered, and our time was swiftly ticking away. The ride went back up after a couple minutes, but that was a crucial amount of time. While on this slow ride, all I could think about was, why did we start the day 40 minutes late? Why did we have a sit-down lunch? And why did we not take this more seriously from the start? At 11:50, we emptied the mansion and sprinted towards Winnie the Pooh. Quickly boarded and realized that we were finally in the endgame. So if we all agreed to run towards Indiana Jones' adventure after this one, surviving Winnie the Pooh was our final stretch. I have never felt more fear and anxiety in my life than when we were sprinting over to the final ride of the day at 11:57, 3 minutes before the park closed. It was 11:58 as we were sprinting over, and it was 11:59 by the time we made it into the line. But the clock struck midnight before we could make it to the end. We fought hard, but it wasn't enough. Including World of Color, we saw 44 out of the 45 planned attractions. But then Amanda, our tour guide, told us about a bit of information she's been withholding from us, exclusively for the theatrics. As per Disneyland rules, if you are in the line of any given ride before midnight, the staff has to respect it and let you on. She gave me the greatest sense of despair in my life and immediately turned it into the greatest sense of accomplishment. I'd love to tell you all about this ride, but once we made it onto that car, nothing else mattered. We set out on a ridiculous goal that took 16 hours to complete. We did it. We conquered Disneyland. Oh my God, tomorrow's gonna hurt.